Hi, welcome to my channel Rubia Stedman. Today I'll be teaching you how to knit this beautiful poncho. It's the combination of 3 beautiful stitches. They are very easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a try, and here is the list of material you're gonna need to make. If you are not already a subscriber, please subscribe and click on the little bell. That way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my videos in Spanish and English, so if you receive a Spanish video and you wanted to see in English, go to the main page on my YouTube channel, then you will find the English version in there. To make this poncho, I have these 2 balls of Charisma Big from Loops and Thread, bulky 5, 100% in acrylic, and the color is Twig. I had 2 different sized netting needle, they're circular, an 8mm shagoo and a 7mm bamboo. You're gonna need a measurement tape, tapestry needle and scissors, and I have here different marker. One will mark the beginning and end of the row or the rounds, and the other ones will mark the stitches. To do our poncho, we're gonna start with the 8mm netting needle. But I'm gonna do 3 different stitches. I'm gonna do an open border stitch. After that, I will do a circular stitch for the body and then the neck. So I have to cast on 119 stitches for the body, plus 1. That's 120. But if I cast on 120 at the beginning, I will have 1 extra stitch for the first stitch design at that border. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cast on 119. That's perfect. That combination of the 2 is perfect. But since I am working open stitch back and forth for 14 centimeters, give or take, and then after I will close the circumference. You see, I need an extra stitch in order to close the circumference. I had to increase 1 stitch. So I decided to cast on my 119 stitches. 117 is multiple of 3 plus 2 stitches for the border at the beginning and end at that open work. And then in the last row, I will increase 1 stitch. That will give me 120. I will close the circumference, casting that one off, and I continue with my 119 for the body of the piece. You can work this poncho with a straight needle, the whole thing, but I like the body to be with circular needle. That way I always work on the right side of the piece. I don't have to go back and forth working. So I will explain as I go. If you're working the whole thing with a straight needle, I will let you know when you have to, especially for the body, because the body is the one that I'm gonna close the circumference, and I always work on the right side. So it's easy because if you're working with a straight needle, row 2, 4, 6, and 8 for the body, it will be purl stitch, but in the circular it will be knit, much easier. So I will explain everything as I go. I will try to make this as easy as I can. It's a very easy stitch to work the combination, both combination, the first one and second one. And the third one, it will be just a 2x2 rib for the collar or neck. You can work this with a straight needle, like I said, or you can work this with a circular needle. I'm going to start by leaving a tail long enough to cast on 119 stitches, a little extra, like you want to cast on 120. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 and 10, 20. So 20 and 20 is 40. I keep those 2 strands in here. So 40 and 20 is 60. I grab here, I let go, and now 60 and 60 120. Also leaving a little extra just in case you do your stitch very loose. You're gonna do a slip knot, and that got a stitch number 1. So you're gonna continue casting on, and this is the tail. You 119 stitches. You can cast on like this or the way you feel more comfortable casting on. And it's 119 stitches. Either you're working with circular needle or straight needles. Remember the first part, you're gonna work back and forth. I have my 119 stitches. We're gonna start with row 1, and row 1 is in the wrong side of the piece, and we're gonna do a purl row. So you're gonna purl your 119 stitches. You're going to purl. Move this out of the way, the tail, and work with these, my 119 purls. So row 2 will be in the right side of the piece. So do this row, and I will meet you here for row. I'm gonna finish the first row, and the last purl you're gonna pass without working. The last stitch, the border stitch, you're gonna pass it as a purl, and then you're gonna turn your work around, and you're gonna purl that stitch. That's the border stitch. So you're gonna come here and purl that stitch. You're always gonna finish with a purl without working. So now that's the border stitch. You're gonna net 2. 1 and 2. Yarn over, net 3. Yarn over, just since a net the next stitch, just you bring the yarn to the front, and that will create the yarn over on top of the needle, and net 3. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Now with the left hand needle, you're gonna grab stitch number 1, the one that you did after the yarn over, and you're gonna pass it over those 2. And that's the repetition that you're gonna do from the yarn over to these 3 nets. So again, yarn to the front for a yarn over, net 3. So that's 1. So that number 1 is the one that you pass over the other 2. 2 and 3. So you grab that number 1, pass it over these 2, and you done your second repetition. Yarn to the front for a yarn over, net 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then you pass that one over those 2. And like that is the repetition that you're going to continue. So you're going to yarn over, net 3. So then 1 is the one that you're always going to pass over the other 2. 1, 2, and 3. With the left hand needle, you grab number 1 and pass it over those 2. And like that is the repetition you're going to continue doing over and over. Yarn over, net 3. 1, 2, and 3, and go to number 1 and pass it over those 2. Like that, you're going to continue with that repetition over and over until you have 2 stitches left on your needle. You'll see that you will have one like this and only 2 stitches at the end of the left hand needle. Here I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to net 1, yarn to the front as to purl, and I'm going to pass the last stitch as a purl without working. Turn my work around, and I finish row 2. Now I'm going to work on row 3. I'm going to purl all the stitches all the way until the end. Remember the last one, you pass that one without work. This is the yarn over, and that strand you do your purl. The yarn over and that strand you do your purl, and like that you're gonna continue all the way until the end of this row, and then we'll work in row 4. I'm gonna finish 3. I do a purl, and the last one I will pass as a purl without working. And now we're gonna work in row 4, and that will be the 4 row repetition that you will do over and over. The only difference between row 2 and 4 is in row 2 we start with 2 net and we finish with 1 net. I don't count the 2 border stitch. And then in row 4 you start with 1 net and you finish with 2 net, and that will move the stitches around. The rest stay the same. You're gonna purl the border stitch. Now you will net 1. You see, in row 4 you net 2, in row 2 you net 2, in row 4 you net 1. Yarn over, net 3. 1, 2, and 3, and you pass 1 over 2 and 3, like that. I have my notebook here and I keep touching it each time I move my arm. So yarn over, net 3, so that's 1. So this 1 is the one you pass over 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and there is 1, and you will pass over those 2. And you see you're moving the stitch a little bit now, and top at the hole you have the stitch, and top of the stitch, and here you have the little hole. Yarn over, net 3, and pass 1 over 2 and 3. So it stays the same. Everything in row 2 and 4 is always the same. Yarn over, net 3, 1, 2, and 3, and pass 1 over 2 and 3. And again, yarn over, net 3, and pass 1 over 2 and 3. So the only thing that changed, like I say, between row 2 and 4 is in the beginning, that in 2 you net 2 and in 4 you net 1, and that will change where the stitches will fall. At the end of this row 4 you will finish with 2 net and a border stitch that you will pass as a purl without working. 3 stitches left, so you're going to do 2 net, and the last one is a purl without working. Yarn to the front as to purl and pass the purl without working, and like that you finish row 4. Now we're going to start with repetition of row 1. You're going to purl all the stitches until the last one, that is the border stitch, that you're going to pass the purl without working. So like you see, it's a very easy stitch to follow. I will meet you here for repetition of row 2. We're going to work on repetition of 2. So you're going to do your purl border stitch, you will net 2, and now yarn over, net 3, 1, 2, and 3, and pass 1 on top of 2 and 3 and cast it off. Yarn over, net 3, pass 1 on top of 2 and 3 and cast that off. Like you see, it's a very easy stitch and it looks really beautiful. You can do your entire poncho if you like with this stitch, but for mine I will do this as the border and then the rest as the neck. I will have a neck stitch for it, but you can do the entire thing like this. Maybe one day I will give it a try to make one with this beautiful stitch, the whole thing. Who knows? It's so easy to do and very fast, especially with thick yarn. So like that you're gonna continue until the end. Remember, you will net 1 and do a border stitch. It's a purl without. I'm gonna finish the repetition of 2 with 1 net and a purl without working. That's the border stitch. You're gonna turn your work around and you're gonna work the repetition of 3. That's a purl row. You're gonna purl all your stitches except the last one. That's a border stitch that you're gonna pass without working. I'm gonna finish the repetition of 3 with a stitch without working. We're gonna turn work around and work a repetition. You're gonna work a repetition of 4, and you're gonna start with your border stitch, and you will net 1, and then yarn over, 3 net, 1, 2, and 3. And pass 1 over 2 and 3. This is the easiest stitch ever. So yarn over, net 3, 1, 2, and 3, and pass 1 over 2 and 3. And it is a beautiful stitch as well. So like that you're going to continue all the way until you have with those 4 repetitions until you have like 14 centimeters. Remember, the only difference between 2 and 4 is in 2 you start with 1 border stitches, 2 net, and you finish with 1 net and 1 border stitch. In row 4 you start with a border stitch and 1 net, and you finish with 2 net and a border stitch. 1 and 3 is exactly the same as purl. So I'm keeping track which row I'm working. So from 1 to 4, each time I do a row, I circle that number. That way, if I had to leave my work, I know when I come back. Something that I wanted to show you is if you make the mistake of making the stitch without the yarn over, it's easy to see if you made a mistake, and it's easy to undo the stitches. So let's say you did 3 stitches without the yarn over. You pass number 1 through 2 and 3, and when you open this you see that the yarn over is missing between these 2, because look, this and this one you have the yarn over in between. It's always a yarn over in between these groups. To undo this, you see the sideways stitch here, so you go to the stitch below that and you just move one of these out, pull the yarn, and that one come out. The second one again is this one in here. You can see you pull this one, and then the last one is in here. If you like, you can hold here and pull the strand, and you have the stitch there. You're gonna pass it through your needle, and you have your 3 stitches back, and then you bring here, do the yarn over, and do your stitches. So in this row that I'm working right now is the row that I'm gonna do the increase of the stitch and closing the circumference. I didn't realize when I was working at the beginning that it had to be in the right side of the piece where you do that increase and close the circumference. Otherwise you will be working in the inside of the piece. an inside out, and it's not nice in the inside. Well, it's nice, but no, you don't see any stitch or anything in the inside like this. So I'm working in repetition or row 4, and this is my 5th repetition of those 4 row. So I've done the 4th row repetition with this one 5 times. So at the end of this row, I will show you how to increase the stitch and how to close the circumference, and we'll do a net row all the way around because we'll be like the purl in the inside. I finished this row and I decided not to do the increase because I'm gonna continue working the stitch and the round without increasing that stitch and passing over. It will look fine. I already tried it. It will look fine to continue in the round. The only thing that you have to do in the end of this row is to purl the last stitch. This time you don't gonna pass the stitch without working. This time you're gonna purl the last stitch, and then what you do is you finish with your working yarn in your right hand. So you go to the next stitch on the tip of the left hand needle, and you'll purl the first stitch, and like that you close the circumference, and now you'll continue netting all the stitch until the last one that you will purl the last stitch, and then you can place a marker here at the end. Now if you're working with a straight needle and you want to continue working without closing the work, what you do a purl row, entire purl row, and then when you are in the right side you will work the next stitch that I'm going to show you. For me it will be in the round, so I had to do, instead of purl, a net row or round. So I will meet you here at the end of this round to start with a stitch number 2. Right side you're going to be netting the yarn over through the front strand, and you continue netting all the stitches until the end, and you will have your 119 stitches. So there wasn't any need to increase a stitch if you close the circumference this way. So I'll net all my stitches and I will meet you here for the next stitch. I'm gonna finish here the last stitch with a purl, and I will place the marker. Now we're gonna start with 8 row repetition for the next stitch. You're gonna repeat those 8 row rounds over and over until you have 30 centimeters from this open space here where you close the circumference. From there you're gonna work 30 centimeters with the next stitch. The next stitch is the repetition of a round. If you're working with a straight needle, the right side is the same, the wrong side you will purl. With circular needle, the row 2, 4, 6, and 8 is net, and for a straight needle will be purl. I already did this section in Spanish, but it's exactly the same. I place a marker here, and you're gonna start with 4 purls. Is what I did in here. You're gonna do 4 purl. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're gonna do yarn over, net 3. Since it's a net, what I have to do next, and the yarn is in the front, I don't have to bring the yarn to the front. I already have it in the front to do the yarn over. So from the front here, from that purl, I'm gonna do this net and creating the yarn over on top of the needle. So net 3, that's 1, 2, and 3. Now you're gonna knit 3 together. You're gonna knit 3, yarn over, purl 4. Since the next stitch is a purl, the yarn over is different. You don't just bring the yarn to the front and purl, because that's what you do with the purl, bring the yarn to the front anyway. So what you have to do is wrap your yarn around the needle in order to have a yarn over in here. So you bring the yarn to the front as to purl, wrap around your needle, bring it to the front as to purl again, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Place a marker and do that repetition all over again. And here you have 17 stitches. I will show you again the repetition of the 17 stitches. You're going to purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now is yarn over net 3. You already have the yarn in the front. Now you net 3, creating the yarn over on top of your needle. 1, 2, and 3. Net 3 together. Net 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, purl 4. So you have to bring the yarn to the front as to purl, wrap it around, and bring it to the front as to purl again, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You will place the marker, and again you will do 4 purl, yarn over, net 3 together, net 3, yarn over, purl 4. And you're going to continue with that repetition until the end of this round. And at the end you'll finish with 4 purl. You start with 4 purl and finish with 4 purl. Now you pass the marker and I start row 2. I finish round 1. If you're working with circular needle, it will be round 2 will be a net round. If you're working with a straight needle, it will be a purl round. So all the even number round, it will be net with a circular and purl with a straight needle. I will meet you here at the end of this round. So I just want to show you how you're going to net the yarn overs. So I have yarn over here. From the front strand you net, and you continue netting all your stitches. I have the second yarn over here from the front strand. So it's good to have the marker for the odd number round, because it's easier when you finish one motif and you have to work on the next one. You know, when you pass the marker, you start in the next motif. That way it's easier not to make a mistake. So do this round and I will meet you here. We're gonna work in round 3 or row 3, depend if you're working in the round or straight. It still is the same. You're gonna start with 4 purls. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're gonna move the yarn over, 1 stitch over. So you're gonna net 1, yarn over, net 2. Since after the yarn over is a net, so you only have to bring the yarn to the front to create the yarn over when you net the next 2 stitches. Now you're going to net 3 together, you're going to net 2, you're going to yarn over and net 1. So since a net stitch, you only need to bring the yarn to the front, net 1, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to pass your marker and do that repetition again. You're gonna start with 4 purl, you're gonna knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, so yarn to the front, knit 2, 1 and 2, knit 3 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pass the marker and do the repetition again until the end. You're gonna finish round 3. Now I'm gonna work in 4. If you're working with a straight needle, you will do a row of purl. If you're working with circular needle like me, you will do a knit round. So you're gonna knit all the stitches, and I will meet you here to work in round 5. You're gonna start with 4 purl, so you always do 4 purls. Now we're gonna move the yarn over to a stitch over, so now we're gonna knit 2, 1 and 2, yarn over, knit 1, knit 3 together, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, 1 and 2, and when I say yarn over, I just bring the yarn to the front because I know the next 2 are knit. You only need to bring it to the front once, and you're gonna purl 4, 3 and 4, and that's the repetition that you're gonna do over and over and row around 5. Again, you will purl 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You're gonna knit 2, 1 and 2, yarn over, knit 1, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, knit 1, knit 3 together, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, 1 and 2, and now you're gonna purl 4, and like that you're gonna continue working over and over until the end of this round or row that you'll finish with 4 purl. And this is round, if you're working with 5. A straight needle, row 6 will be a purl row, but if you're working with circular needle, it will be a knit round. So you will knit all your stitches, and we only have 2 more round to go to start with repetition of 1. So it's a very easy stitch to do as well. We're gonna work in round 7 or row 7 if you're working straight. It's exactly the same. You're gonna purl 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we're gonna move the yarn over 3 stitch over, so we're gonna knit 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now you're gonna do a yarn over and knit 3 together. Yarn to the front for the yarn over and knit 3 together. Yarn over, knit 3, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pass the marker, and again you're gonna do that repetition. You're gonna purl 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're gonna net 3, 1, 2, and 3. You're gonna yarn over, net 3 together, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, and the next 3 you do them together, and a net stitch. Yarn over, net 3, and you're gonna purl 4. Like that, you're gonna continue with this repetition until the end of this round. And right now you don't see the stitch as much because we only done almost 1 repetition. As you work, you will see the stitch much better, and it's a really beautiful stitch as well. I finished round 7. Now we're gonna work on 8. If you're working with a straight needle, it's a purl. If you're working with circular needle, it's a net round. You're gonna net all your stitches, and with this row we finish 1 repetition of the stitch that we're gonna do for 30 centimeters. When you finish number 8, it will look like this. Don't seem like much because we only done 1 repetition. As you work, you will see the stitch. So you're gonna start again with repetition of 1, and you're gonna start with 4 purl. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you do yarn over and net 3. Since I had to net the next stitch, I just leave the yarn in the front for the yarn over and net my first one, bring the yarn over the needle and to the back, and I create the yarn over there. So that's 1, 2, and 3 nets. Now you're going to net 3 together. You're going to net 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now you have to do yarn over and purl 4. So it's a purl the next stitch. The yarn over you have to do by wrapping around your needle. So again, you bring it to the front, you wrap it around your needle, and you will purl your 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You will pass the marker and you continue with a repetition. Purl 4, yarn over, net 3, so leave the yarn in the front, and net 3, so that create the yarn over in here. 1, 2, and 3, net 3 together, net 3, yarn over, purl 4, so yarn over as a wrap because the next one is a purl. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pass the marker and continue with that repetition all the way until the end. And that repetition of 1. You will do repetition of 2. If you're working with circular, will be a net. If you're working with a straight needle, will be a purl. And then I will meet you here to show you how to work repetition. Now
of
for
3.
row or round 3, you're gonna purl 4, 3, and 4. You're gonna net 1, yarn over, net 2, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, net 2, 1 and 2, net 3 together, net 2, yarn over, net 1, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, net 1, and purl 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pass the marker and do the repetition again. For purl, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Net 1, yarn over, net 2, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, net 2, net 3 together, net 2, yarn over, net 1, and purl 4. Like that, you're going to continue in the repetition of 3. You're going to work in repetition of 4. If you're working with a straight needle, it's purl. If you're working with circular needle like me, it's net. And I will meet you here to work in repetition of 5. 5 is for purl, 2, 3, and 4, net 2, yarn over, net 1, so yarn to the front for yarn over, net 1, net 3 together, net 1, yarn over, net 2, so yarn to the front for the yarn over, net 2, 1 and 2, and purl 4. Pass the marker, and again you will purl 4, you will net 2, 1 and 2, yarn over, net 1, net 3 together, net 1, yarn over, net 2, and purl 4. And like that, you're going to continue in this repetition of round 5. You're going to work in 6. If you work in a straight needle, it's a purl. If you work in circle like me, it will be a net round. And after that, I will meet you here to work in repetition of 7. We're going to work in repetition of 7. So you're going to purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to net 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, Net 3 together, yarn over, net 3, and purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pass the marker, purl 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, net 3, yarn over, net 3 together, so yarn to the front for yarn over, net 3 together, yarn over, net 3, and purl 4. 1, 2, and 3, and purl 4. Like that, you're going to continue in the repetition of round 7. You're going to work an 8. If you're working with the straight, it will be purl, and with circular net. I finished the repetition of 8. Now I'm going to continue with those 8 row or round repetition until I have 30 centimeters. And like that is how the stitch look. It's like a fish tail. So you're gonna measure from this opening here 30 centimeters. And here I have 10. So I have to continue until I have my 30 centimeters done, and then I will meet you here. And I am working in the repetition of the stitch number 5, and I'm working it in row around 4, and I finished with my first ball of yarn. So now I'm going to work with my second one. So I'm going to leave a tail in here to lose later, and I'm working my net round, and I'm going to do a knot with the 2 ends, and later I will secure those tails and lose those tails. And I will continue working until I have the length that I need for mine. That's 30 centimeters. I have my 30 centimeters. I did 6 repetitions, and I finished with repetition or row around 8. Now I'm gonna change my needle size, and I will do a round with decrease. At the same time, I want to work my 2x2 rib. So I'm gonna need this marker now. And this, and I'm gonna start with net 2 together, net 1, yarn to the front, purl 2 together, and purl 1, yarn to the back, net 2 together, net 1, yarn to the front, purl 2 together, 1, and now you will do 1 purl. So I'm working the 2x2 rib. Once in a while I will net 2 together and 2 together, yarn to the back, net 2 together, and net 2 together. Now I will purl 2 together and purl 1. And at that I'll continue working net 2 together, net 1, purl 2 together, purl 1, and once in a while do those 2 and 2 net together. So you have to have from 72 to 76 stitches. No 70, no 74, no 78, had to be multiple of 4, so 72 76, 80, but 80 will be really big color if you leave too many. So for mine will be around 72 or 76. Every 20 stitches I will place a marker. That way I know when I have my number of stitches. I will have 20, 3 groups of 20, and then in the last one either 12 or 16 stitches. That will give me a 72 or 76 stitches. I finished that round. Now I'm gonna work my 2x2 rib, 2 net, 2 purl, and I have 76 stitches in here. And I'm gonna work this 2x2 rib for 10 centimeters. Once I have my 10 centimeters, I will meet you here to cast off or bind off our stitches. I finished with my collar part. Now I'm gonna cast off or bind off my stitches, and I'm gonna work them as I see them. This part you have to do nice and loose, that way you have a nice stretch on your piece. So you're gonna knit the first one, knit the second one, and you're gonna pass the first one on top of the second one and cast it off. You're gonna purl the next one, and you're gonna pass the net on top of that purl. You're gonna purl the next one, and you're gonna pass this purl on top of that purl. Now you're gonna knit this one and pass this purl on top of that net, and knit the next one and pass this net on top of that net. And like that you're going to continue casting off all your stitches until the end. I will show you a little bit close. So you're going to knit that one, and you see my stitches are nice and loose. I'm not pulling my yarn or anything. Now I'm going to purl the next one, and I'm going to pass this one. You see, very loose my stitches. And purl the next one, and like that you're going to continue casting off or binding off your stitches. I'm going to finish here, cut the tail to pass through this loop and to close this little uneven part of the collar, and then you'll lose the tail in the inside and lose the rest the tails, and I will meet you here to show you the end result. This is the leftover yarn from the second ball. So I have enough yarn here to make a hat, and that's what I'm planning to do sometime, a hat with the stitch that I did for the beginning of the poncho. I love that stitch. I'm gonna try to do it in the round. I think it will look amazing. This is the end result, and I absolutely love this piece. The stitch combination is perfect. I steam a little bit the border in here. I love this border stitch. I steam the fishtail stitch, and here is the opening in the side. I love it. Well, I hope you guys like it, and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are not already a subscriber. And if you make this poncho and you want to send me some picture, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Esteban Crochet, or my Instagram, Ruby Esteban Crochet. Please share my video with friends and family. That way you help me grow here in YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.